All right, let's get right into it. I'm Analyst A, and today we're bringing you an explainer on a massive shift in global trade. We are kicking off a high-stakes, highly optimistic market briefing on India's modern international sales footprint.
Hey everyone, Analyst B here. It is great to be with you. Honestly, we've got our eyes absolutely glued to the metrics today because the structural shifts we're seeing out there in the global market they're nothing short of phenomenal. The official title of our briefing today is Recent Trends in Exports. And to really appreciate these trends, you kind of have to remember where this all started. Prior to 1947, the trade pattern was strictly colonial. It was mostly just supplying raw materials, things like jute, cotton, tea, and oilseeds, and importing manufactured goods.
Exactly. But since liberalization, and especially when you look at the data from 2001 onwards, that dynamic has been completely rewritten. We aren't just talking about raw materials anymore. We're talking about a modern engineered export powerhouse. Okay, let's dive into this. We have put together a market leaderboard, and we're tracking 4 dominating sectors today. Number 1, engineering goods. Number 2, petroleum products. Number 3 is our premier earner, gems and jewelry. And number 4, the steady, reliable performers, chemicals and textiles. We're going to be fast-paced and metric-driven today, so let's hit Section 1. Section 1, engineering goods, the heavy champion. And let me tell you, that heavy champion title is absolutely earned. We're talking heavy-duty engineering that requires massive infrastructure. Just look at this metric, 25%. In the 2017 to 2018 period, this sector alone claimed a massive 25% share of India's total exports. Literally a full quarter of the entire nation's export portfolio. We're looking at heavy transport equipment, automobiles, and advanced machinery. For anyone tracking global supply chains, this represents a total transformation in industrial capacity. It proves this economy isn't just participating in modern global trade, it is heavily driving it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer velocity of the growth. Just isolate transport equipment for a second.
Yeah, check out that comparison. Back in 2010 to 2011, exports of transport equipment stood at a very solid $16 billion. But fast forward just a few years to 2014 to 2015, that number surges to $24.8 billion.
That jump is incredible. Adding nearly $9 billion in value in just a few short years shows exactly why this sector is the heavy champion. It proves these manufacturers are successfully reaching way beyond domestic markets. That builds perfectly into our next category, Section 2, petroleum products, the refinery shift. So historically, petroleum has always been India's biggest import, taking up something like 30% of total imports. But the export side, that is a highly strategic structural pivot. Look at this stark contrast. In 2000 to 2001, petroleum products had a tiny, almost negligible export share of just 4.3%. But by 2013 to 2014, it rocketed up to an impressive 20.1%.
Right, from 4.3% up to 20.1%. You have to ask, how does a massive importer of crude suddenly secure a 20% export share in refined products? The answer is massive refinery capacity expansions. Since 2001, they've imported the raw crude, run it through these gigantic new refineries, and exported the high-value processed products. Spot on. This capacity increase transformed the country into a proud net exporter of petroleum refinery products. It's honestly one of the most brilliant examples of value addition we have on the board today.
Transitioning over to the luxury sector now, we have Section 3, gems and jewelry, the premier earners. This sector is fascinating because it requires a completely different type of infrastructure, right? You need precision skills, specialized craftsmanship, and high-end consumer markets. And this brilliantly illustrates its dominance. Looking at the 2014 to 2015 data for all merchandise exports, gems and jewelry carved out a massive 13.3% slice of the entire pie. Think about that for a second. Out of all the manufactured items, all the agricultural products, textiles, precious stones and jewelry alone account for over an eighth of the total export earnings. It firmly establishes this sector as a major premier contributor in the modern trade era. When we take a step back and look at these first 3 drivers, the heavy engineering, the strategic refinery pivot, and these premier luxury earners, we're really looking at a rapidly shifting global footprint.
It really is a brand new era of trade relations, especially since 2001, totally new global partnerships were established. The USA emerged as a leading trading partner, followed by heavyweights like Germany, Japan, and the UK.
These dynamic shifts mean India is interacting with the global market on a completely different tier now.
They're exporting high-value goods and earning serious reputation in highly competitive international markets. Which brings us to the final item on our leaderboard. Section 4, Chemicals and Textiles, the steady performers. You know, while it's amazing to have explosive growth in transport equipment and that massive structural pivot in petroleum, you absolutely still need a reliable industrial backbone. Let's track these steady performers side by side. In 2014 to 2015, chemicals and chemical products secured a solid 10.4% export share.
And right next to it, textiles and ready-made garments locked in an 11.3% share in that same period.
That 11.3% is no small feat. Securing that kind of volume globally firmly cements India as a leading global textile exporter. It is just a massive, reliable engine for economic growth. So the crucial point is this: trade is the engine of growth for an economy. We started this explainer looking back at the pre-1947 era, where the trade pattern was just shipping out raw materials.
But look at where we are today. By optimizing resources, specializing in heavy manufacturing, expanding petroleum refineries, and dominating in textiles and luxury goods, the structural shift is complete. We are no longer just a raw material supplier. The data clearly shows a successful transition into a modern powerhouse of engineered goods supplying a fiercely competitive global market.
The metrics we've reviewed today, spanning from 2001 to 2018, paint a picture of aggressive, optimistic growth and strategic diversification.
But markets never sleep, right? The global footprint is always shifting. We've seen engineering goods claim 25% and petroleum refined products surge past 20%. As we look to the future, we have to ask, which of these high-value sectors will dominate the next decade of international trade?
Will it be a continued surge in transport equipment, or will a brand new structural pivot emerge? Keep your eyes on the data. Thanks for joining our explainer today.